So, how to shoot a recurve bow. The first thing is your stance and posture. This is the foundation for your shot. Now, approach the shooting line, as you can see in this video, and put your feet roughly shoulder width apart. And you would have them equidistant along the shooting line and pointing forwards. You can have them slightly turned out if you want. In terms of your posture, again, as you can see here, you want a nice straight spine, no leaning away or towards the target, and then no curving of the back. You want the back nice and flat, as you can see here as well. You want a nice line between the shoulders, the hips, and the ankles, and you can see this straight line in this picture here as well. That's the stance and posture. Now, when it comes to actually putting the arrow on the string, you want to make sure that the arrow is definitely on the arrow rest, as you can see here, and then crucially, the fletchings of the arrow are orientated correctly. So you want the 2 fletches to the side of the bow and 1 fletch sticking out to the left. And that is the correct way to put the arrow on the string. Now, in this position, you would have the bow resting on your foot. From here, you place the Y of the bow hand slightly into the grip, as you can see here. Then you place the fingers onto the string. You place the string in the groove of the index finger, the middle finger, but slightly in front of the groove, slightly onto the pad of the 3rd finger, as shown here. And that is your set position with your bow hand in the grip and then your hook, your draw hand on the string. From that position, you put a tiny bit of tension on the string and then slightly lift the bow to finalize your hand in the grip. And you can see here how the pad of the bow hand is going into the grip. So there's a pressure point on the pad of your bow hand, and that is directing in the grip. The thumb is alongside the bow, and the knuckles of the hand are slightly retracted back. Now, interestingly, at this position, your shoulders are what we call out of line. And you can see from this overhead that if we draw a line to the target, the shoulders are pointing left of that line when we draw a line through the shoulders. This will become apparent as to why this is important in the next section. Now, from this position, you want to raise both hands and lift the bow whilst keeping the shoulders in a neutral position and not allowing them to raise up. This is really key. Then, as you're approaching horizontal, you start rotating the upper body whilst keeping the hips, the legs and the feet in the same position, not rotating the hips, the legs or the feet. So you just raise and rotate the upper body to open the bow. Now, again, as seen from overhead, you can see when this rotation happens, the shoulders now move into line. And this is why it was important that I showed you that before. So when you do this rotation, you are moving the right-hand side of your body for a right-handed archer around, you're twisting, and then bringing that line in. So now when we look and we see the position at the setup, the shoulders are now pointing to the right of the target. So you've moved that line. At the start, they were pointing left, and now they're pointing right. Once you've rotated most of your upper body into line, you have a slight checkpoint, and we call this your setup. And at that point, you check the feeling of the line through the shoulders, and you make sure that you're in the right position or close to it. So now when you go into the draw, you're pretty much there in terms of where your body is, where your hands are, and everything is set up nicely, hence the name setup. Now, from the setup position, you want to lead by pulling with your elbow. You use your elbow to move your hand back and feel like you're coming towards the neck. So you use the elbow to come towards the neck, and then you can go upwards with the hand to locate the index finger along the jaw. So you can see in this video again, drawing with the elbow, leading from the elbow, hand goes to the neck, string touches center of the nose, slightly right of the chin, which you can see here. And then once you have that, you can go slightly up to locate the index finger along the jawbone. And that is going from setup, moving the elbow round, and then going upwards to locate your hand along your anchor. And the key points here are string is on the middle of the nose ideally, or slightly right. It's slightly right on the chin, and then the index finger has a secure contact along the jaw, and there's no gap. So there's a snug, secure fit of the hand along the jaw, as you can see from this angle, viewing down onto the archer from the back. Now, at this point, you've got the position that you need, and the final thing you need to do is just to pull the arrow, the remaining amount of the arrow, through the clicker, which is your draw length check. So you might not have a clicker to start with, but eventually you will do. And what you need to do to get through the clicker is just to continue this elbow movement. Feel like now, instead of pulling the elbow away from the target to bring your hand to your neck, you have your elbow and you squeeze your elbow around the body here. So you're squeezing around behind you along the shooting line. And by doing that, that will pull the arrow, the last remaining couple of millimeters, through the clicker. And then once the clicker is clicked, you can keep every single thing the same and just allow the final digit of your fingers on the hand, the final digit of your fingers, to relax ever so slightly. And then that will allow the release to happen. So you can imagine, as you're doing this expansion, that this elbow you're squeezing around, and you can imagine you're pulling on a taut rope, and this rope is tight, and you can imagine the release happens when the clicker clicks. It's like someone has cut that rope, and you've gone from pulling against this taut rope, the rope is now cut, and you will go like that. The key thing here is that you must maintain the movement that you were doing before, the squeezing around. You must maintain that through the click, after the click, and well until the arrow has hit the target. Otherwise, you'll see that happen, and that's what we don't want. So you must maintain the movement and the expansion that you're doing until after the arrow has hit the target. Now, before we get on to the next point, I want to mention today's sponsor for this video, which is actually myself. So you might not have seen yet, but I've made 2 online courses, one for beginners and one for advanced archers, that cover everything you need to know about recurve archery. So if you're enjoying this video and you're finding it helpful, especially if you're a beginner and you want to improve your archery, I'd strongly recommend you to check out my beginners course. And if you're an advanced archer, you can take your technique all the way up to elite level as well. There's everything you'll ever need to know. The website address is courses.onlinearcheryacademy.com, and there's a little discount in the comment section below as well. Now back to the video. Now, for the release and the follow through, you must maintain the movement of that expansion, like I said. So you want to continue squeezing the elbow round, and to help with this, you can visualize scratching your neck with your fingernails, like this. And this is a great way to practice it. So you can just go from here, scratch the neck to there. That is the movement you want when you release. So you can practice that before you shoot. And then as you're shooting, you can imagine scratching the neck with your fingernails, squeezing the elbow around. On the other side, on this side, you want to just keep the arm straight and just imagine that the bow hand is being pulled down, allow it to be pulled down by the weight of the bow and the reaction of the forwards movement, like this. So you just allow that to happen, and that is the follow through. Crucially, the central body should be exactly the same, no movement at all. A lot easier said than done, but keeping that central core really, really solid. Now, a couple of bonus points that we didn't cover as we went through. Firstly, when you're putting your fingers on the string, you put one finger above the arrow, this is the arrow, one finger above the arrow, 2 fingers below, like that. And I mentioned about the hook earlier, so that's fine there. Now, in terms of when you're actually shooting as well, it's really important to make sure that you maintain your head position still at all times. If you move your head, your body will follow. So this is a key tip for beginners in order to shoot properly, is keep your head in the same place, and it will help you keep your body in the same place.